chosen one, this is not a random message. This is a holy summons. A divine trumpet has sounded in the spirit realm, and its call has reached you. Heaven has shifted. The throne of God has spoken, and this is no mere inspiration. It is a command dispatched from the highest authority. You are being addressed, not as a bystander, but as a soldier marked by fire, chosen to hear what others cannot bear. The Lord declares, I have released my chief warrior, Archangel Michael, not as an idea or symbol, but as a living being now stationed at your side. This is not metaphor. This is not spiritual poetry. This is divine reality. Michael has been sent, fully armed, fully awakened, fully aligned with your assignment. He is not coming. He is already here. And he stands waiting for your agreement, your obedience, your activation. This is your moment of divine reinforcement. But hear this clearly. It is for a set time. Heaven does not waste reinforcements. You've cried, you've endured, and now God has responded. Not later, not someday now. You are no longer alone. The enemy thought you were exposed. The forces of darkness believed you were unguarded. But heaven has intervened. God has sent his fiercest angel, Michael, the one who leads the armies of heaven to defend your destiny. Break open locked gates and scatter every assignment that was set against your soul. Michael is not here to observe. He is here to execute heaven's decree. His sword is drawn, and his eyes are set on your future. But let this warning pierce you. Michael's presence is not without condition. His assignment is holy, and it is time-bound. If you do not respond in obedience, if you delay, if you sit in fear while heaven says move, the covering can lift. This is not the season to hesitate. You must align, you must obey, you must engage. God is not requesting your participation. He is requiring it. The time for passive spirituality is over. The moment to rise in faith has come, and heaven is watching how you move. If your spirit is trembling, if your chest feels like fire is rising, don't brush it off as emotion. That's not adrenaline. That's confirmation. That's divine vibration. That's heaven knocking on the door of your soul. Most will scroll past. Many will mock what they do not understand. But not you. You are still here because you were summoned. And those who endure to the end of this message, those who feel the weight and respond, will never live the same again. Comment 77. I receive the assignment. Let heaven witness your yes. Let darkness see your stand. This is not just a message, it's a moment, and your response activates the move. You must understand this with spiritual sobriety. The presence of Archangel Michael is not a permanent fixture. It is a divine intervention for a divine window. Heaven has moved in your favor, but that movement demands response. This angelic assignment is not decorative. It is strategic, powerful, and conditional. If you ignore the summons, if you remain passive, when the heavens require motion, the assistance you've cried out for can lift. The covering that now surrounds you can shift. This is not a threat. It is a holy truth. Michael is not standing by for ornamental comfort. He is positioned for war, and he does not war for the disobedient. Heaven has rules of engagement, and obedience is the gate. If you want angelic warfare to be active on your behalf, then you must activate your faith with movement. The moment you align, the moment you surrender your will and say yes to your calling, Michael's sword is drawn not just in your defense, but in your advancement. But if you resist, if you linger in fear, if you cling to what God told you to release, then even this divine backup will stand down. Not because God is punishing you, but because disobedience shuts spiritual doors. This urgency echoes the wisdom of C.S. Lewis in the Screwtape Letters, where he writes, "Courage is not simply one of the virtues, but the form of every virtue at the testing point." Your moment of testing has arrived, and courage is the key to unlocking Michael's partnership. To hesitate now is to let fear erode the very faith that summoned heaven's warrior. Obedience requires the courage to act, to step forward when the path is unclear. trusting that Michael's sword will clear the way. This is a sacred contract. You have cried out for deliverance, and now deliverance stands before you fully armored, ready to destroy every stronghold that kept you bound. But God will not force you to walk into freedom. Heaven honors free will, and the presence of Michael means this. You are being given a supernatural opportunity to partner with heaven's power, but it is a limited time opening. The portal is open now. The invitation is real now, but the timing is not endless. If you do not move, if you delay, you may miss a moment that will not repeat. You've asked for a sign. This is your sign. You've begged for help. Help has arrived. Now, the question is not whether God will move. He already has. The real question is, will you respond in time? Will you step forward while the door is open? Will you obey while the angel is still stationed? Because Michael is not assigned to comfort your stagnation, he is sent to lead your breakthrough. But he cannot lead where you refuse to follow. Heaven is waiting, watching, and weighing your response. The spiritual atmosphere around you is pregnant with possibility. The angel has been released. The sword has been drawn. The way is clear. But now it's on you. Let this truth settle deep into your spirit. Heaven did not move on a whim. God did not send Michael out of routine. The response of the throne was not casual. It was provoked by your pain. Yes, it was your private tears, your silent nights, your whispered prayers in the darkness that triggered this divine deployment. While others saw you standing, heaven saw you breaking. While you kept smiling in public, your soul was crying behind closed doors. And every drop of anguish, every exhausted sigh, every aching, "God, please help me," was recorded in heaven's book. C.S. Lewis, in The Problem of Pain, captures this divine attentiveness. God whispers to us in our pleasures, speaks in our conscience, but shouts in our pains. It is his megaphone to rouse a deaf world. Your pain has been God's megaphone, amplifying your cries to the throne and summoning Michael's intervention. What you perceived as silence was heaven's preparation, gathering its forces to answer your suffering with a warrior's might. Your anguish was not ignored, it was the catalyst for this holy response. You have been faithful in ways no one else knew. You've walked through storms without recognition, endured betrayals without vengeance, and held on to hope even when your faith felt like it was unraveling. You stood when it hurt. You kept believing when nothing made sense. And you need to understand this now, heaven noticed. Your endurance was not ignored. Your faithfulness in affliction reached the throne, and God answered not with comfort but with command. Not with a soft whisper, but with a warrior. Michael's arrival is heaven's response to your hidden war. You were not overlooked. You were being observed, watched in sacred silence until the time came for God to act. The delay was not a denial. It was preparation for divine intervention. You thought heaven had gone quiet, but in truth heaven was mustering its armies. What looked like silence was actually divine readiness. And now the full weight of that readiness has descended. God has not sent you a counselor. He has sent you a commander. You didn't just receive a comforter. You've been assigned a heavenly champion. Michael does not arrive to spectate. He arrives to shift atmospheres, to war in unseen realms, to dismantle what has tried to dismantle you. His mission is not gentle. It is surgical. It is forceful. It is holy retaliation. So lift your head. This is not the hour to shrink back into fear or wonder if you're worthy of heaven's attention. Heaven has already answered that question with an angel. The pain that nearly broke you has now summoned the fiercest warrior in God's kingdom to stand by your side. This is not symbolic. This is not vague encouragement. This is real. This is now. This is heaven's full-scale response to your silent suffering. Make no mistake. This is not poetic language meant to comfort your imagination. This is not a symbolic story crafted to inspire. This is not a metaphor. This is real. What you are stepping into is not a concept. It is a heaven-backed operation, and the archangel assigned to your life is not fiction. He is a force. He has descended not in idea, but in presence. He has been stationed at your side by the order of Almighty God, not just to watch over you, but to fight through you and for you. You've been walking through a battlefield for years, and most never saw it. You weren't fighting with fists, but with faith. You weren't swinging swords, but you were holding your soul together in prayer, in fasting, in obedience, when no one was watching. You stood alone in rooms filled with darkness. You withstood atmospheres soaked in demonic opposition, and while others saw your smile, heaven saw your scars. You have survived wars that would have collapsed others, and heaven has now responded. Archangel Michael, heaven's fiercest general, the very one who warred against the dragon in Revelation, is now positioned at your side. He is heaven's most strategic warrior. He is the angel who cast down rebellion from the highest realms, and now he has been deployed to your life, not to admire your faith, but to amplify it, not to witness your fight, but to win it with you. The gates that were shut, the resistance that lingered, the invisible weight on your chest that you couldn't explain, all of it is now under divine assault. God has sent Michael to confront what's been confronting you, to strike down what's been trying to strangle your destiny. This truth aligns with C.S. Lewis's insight in Letters to Malcolm, chiefly on prayer, where he writes, "We may ignore, but we can nowhere evade the presence of God. The world is crowded with him. He walks everywhere incognito. Just as God's presence permeates all things, Michael's arrival is no mere coincidence. It is God's tangible response breaking through the veil of your struggles. To ignore this divine intervention is to risk missing the very presence of heaven's power in your life. Michael's presence is God's incognito now revealed to lead you into victory. You've cried out for help, and help has come. You've begged God for clarity, for peace, for strength, and heaven answered not with a whisper, but with a warrior. This is divine strategy. This is supernatural backup. You are not surviving this season by accident. You are about to rise in supernatural victory, not because the battle has ended, but because you are no longer fighting alone. Michael doesn't come to cheer from the sidelines. He comes with fire in his eyes and heaven's orders in his hands. He comes to break chains, to sever soul ties, to disarm darkness. His presence is not an idea. It's a spiritual earthquake sent to shake everything that tried to bury you. You're not walking alone anymore. You are surrounded by angelic fire. This is not abstract. This is not distant. This is not a sermon. This is war, and heaven has taken your side. Let this truth settle deep within you. What is happening in your life right now is not a dream, not a vision, not a metaphor. It is divine reality. This isn't inspiration, this is activation. You are not simply reading words. You are being immersed in a spiritual reality that is already unfolding around you. This is not something you imagined or hoped for. Heaven has moved. The throne has spoken. And in response to your secret battles, to your silent endurance, God has dispatched the very warrior who leads his armies, Archangel Michael, not in theory, but in power, presence, and precision. For far too long you have walked through fire without applause. You've endured battles. No one saw wounds. No one could bandage, and trials that left your soul trembling but not broken. You fought not with swords but with faith, not with volume but with tears. You stood still when the weight tried to collapse you. You stayed pure when bitterness knocked. You remained loyal when betrayal surrounded you. And while no one on earth may have fully seen it, heaven did. Every unseen act of obedience, every midnight cry, every prayer whispered with shaking hands, all of it reached the ears of the Most High. And he did not stay silent. God has now answered, not with soft comfort, but with holy fire. He has not sent merely a word. He has sent a warrior, the very same archangel who cast Lucifer out of heaven, who led armies against darkness, in realms unseen, now walks at your side. This is not poetic language. This is not spiritual allegory. This is divine intervention. Archangel Michael has been released into your life by divine decree, not to console your wounds, but to avenge them, not to watch over your pain, but to bring violent justice against the darkness that targeted you. The spiritual pressure you felt, the weight on your chest, the chaos that seemed to make no sense, that wasn't life falling apart. That was war. And now heaven has escalated the conflict. Michael is not watching you, he's fighting for you. He doesn't come to merely protect, he comes to pursue, to penetrate, to pull down demonic systems that were set up to delay you, drain you, and destroy your momentum. This is real warfare. This is the realm of thrones and dominions of angels and demons, of divine verdicts and satanic opposition, and you have just been reinforced with heaven's most strategic weapon. The chains that once resisted your progress are now being targeted. The invisible ceilings over your destiny are being shattered. The darkness that camped around your calling is being scattered by divine fire. You've cried for help, and this is how heaven helps its warriors. Not with soft lullabies, but with holy reinforcements. You didn't just need a hug, you needed a sword. And that sword is now drawn by the angel, who stands closest to the throne in matters of warfare. God did not send comfort, because this isn't a season to sit still. He sent movement. He sent fire. He sent war. And he sent Michael. You are not entering breakthrough alone. You are not stepping into new territory uncovered. You are walking forward with a heavenly general beside you, and he's not here for show. He is here to finish what darkness started and to ensure that you come out on the other side, not limping, but victorious. So let your spirit awaken. This is not a story. This is not a sermon. This is a spiritual transaction happening in real time. You have been assigned a divine bodyguard, a supernatural strategist, a heavenly shield. You are not making it through this season by your own strength. You are being carried, covered, and championed by one of heaven's highest. Michael has been released, not because you are weak, but because your calling is too great, your warfare too intense, your future too costly for God to let you walk unprotected. You're not imagining the shift, you're experiencing it. And it is not symbolic, it is real. What you've endured financially was not merely economic, it was spiritual warfare disguised as lack. The battles over your money, your provision, your resources, those weren't just bad luck or poor timing. They were targeted assaults on your ability to build what God placed in your heart. The delays, the debt, the constant cycles of scarcity were never about numbers. They were about sabotage. The enemy saw your calling. He saw the impact your obedience could have if resourced. He knew what you would build for the kingdom, if not burdened by fear and financial exhaustion. And so he attacked not your wallet, but your faith tied to provision. But now heaven has stepped in. God has not only heard your prayers for breakthrough, he has dispatched Michael to break the resistance around your finances. Michael is not just a warrior of swords and shields. He is an executor of divine order. And where there is chaos, he brings justice. Where there is bondage, he brings release. Where the devourer has been feeding, Michael arrives with fire. You've been living stretched thin, rationing hope, making decisions from a place of survival, but that is shifting now. Because when heaven funds a mission, it doesn't trickle, it releases a flood. Let this be clear, this is not a gospel of greed. This is not about chasing comfort. This is about alignment. When your life is in alignment with your divine assignment, provision becomes heaven's responsibility. And Michael's presence in this season is confirmation that the warfare surrounding your finances has spiritual roots. You are not crazy for feeling resistance every time you try to launch, save, build, or sow. That resistance was real, but so is this breakthrough. And this time the attack is not being tolerated. It's being terminated. Michael has not come empty-handed. He comes with strategy. He comes with timing. He comes with the authority to shut the mouth of the devourer. Contracts that were delayed will suddenly move. Opportunities that ghosted you will circle back. Provision you thought was lost will be resurrected. God is not just sustaining you anymore, He is positioning you for overflow. Not so you can boast, but so you can build. Not so you can hoard, but so you can fulfill. You have tithed in tears. You've sown when it didn't make sense. You've honored God with your first, even when you didn't know how to cover the last. And now heaven has declared enough. The same Michael who guarded heaven's glory is now guarding your bank account, your contracts, your entrepreneurial blueprints, your ministry visions. You will no longer be bullied by fear of not having enough. The hands that held back because of worry will now build freely in faith. This is not about luxury, it's about kingdom legacy. You're not just surviving anymore. You're being resourced, released, and restored. The financial drought is ending, and the spiritual cause behind it is being dismantled. With Michael on assignment, you are not only defended, you are being delivered into a season of prophetic provision. So prepare your heart not for excess, but for purposeful abundance. Heaven is not rewarding your hustle, it's rewarding your holiness. You didn't buy this blessing, you obeyed your way into it. And now, the same God who sees in secret is rewarding openly. Provision is not coming later, it is in motion now. And with Michael guarding your gates, what was once devoured will now be defended. What was blocked will now flow, and what was stolen will be returned with interest. Heaven has watched you suffer in silence. You've carried burdens no one could see, endured injustice you couldn't speak of, and chosen mercy when revenge would have felt justified. You walked through betrayal and kept your mouth shut, not because you were weak, but because you knew that vengeance belongs to the Lord. You didn't defend yourself when you were slandered. You didn't expose others when you had the chance. You let people walk away without forcing them to see your worth. And all the while, your obedience was rising as a fragrance before God's throne. You were not being ignored. You were being recorded. Every tear you didn't explain. Every insult you absorbed. Every night you cried out to God instead of clapping back at those who wronged you. Heaven took notes. And now, the one who sees in secret is stepping into your story not just to comfort you, but to vindicate you openly. What was done in private is about to be reversed in public. And this isn't about ego. This is about justice. This is about divine recognition of holy endurance. The same God who allowed you to be hidden is now bringing you into a place of visibility, but not to prove a point to your enemies, to prove a point about His faithfulness. He will prepare a table for you in the presence of those who once mocked your struggle, misjudged your silence, and minimized your calling. And make no mistake, Michael is part of the preparation. He's not just fighting for your soul. He is aligning situations, softening hearts, moving key pieces into place, so that when the curtain lifts, the story of your life speaks for itself. This is not the hour to shrink. This is the moment to stand tall, not in pride, but in prophetic confidence. The same voice that called you in the wilderness is now announcing you in the open. The whispers that once undermined you will be replaced by God's confirmation. Your testimony will no longer be hidden. It will become a public declaration of God's justice. But don't confuse this with revenge. This is not about proving others wrong. This is about heaven proving you right. This is vindication with purpose. You've wondered, when will someone finally see what I've endured? God saw. And His response was not silence. It was strategy. He kept you in the shadows because the foundation needed to be laid in stillness. But now, the time of concealment is ending, and you are not stepping out alone. You are emerging with angelic authority behind you. The battle was real. The wounds were deep, but the reward is greater. And the same ones who counted you out will soon ask how you rose. And your answer will be simple and sacred. God did it quietly, faithfully, and now undeniably. What you are walking through right now is more than breakthrough. It is divine purification. Archangel Michael has not only come to defend you from outward attack, he has been released to address the invisible chains, the spiritual residue, the lingering attachments that have wrapped around your soul and choked your progress. You've felt confusion for no clear reason. You've battled heaviness that didn't match your circumstances. You've struggled to move forward, even when the door was open. And now heaven is revealing the cause. There were spiritual intrusions, unseen entanglements, contracts you never signed in the natural, but that were activated in the spirit realm through trauma, bloodline, or deception. But now the divine sword has been drawn. Michael is not merely hovering over you, he is operating in the unseen like a spiritual surgeon, severing what the enemy sowed. He is cutting cords you didn't even know were binding you, soul ties that drained your strength, generational curses that followed your bloodline, demonic whispers that disguise themselves as your own thoughts. This is not imagination. This is intervention. The fog is lifting not because you're getting stronger, but because something dark is being removed from around you. This is a holy detox, a sacred cleansing. Some of the fatigue you've felt, the mental fog, the emotional instability, the sudden anxiety or nightmares, those were spiritual symptoms of something that attached itself to you without your permission. But God in His mercy has stepped in. He has sent Michael with orders not just to guard you, but to purge you. You are being untangled from spiritual parasites that latched on during seasons of pain, betrayal, or sin. And even now, things are being uprooted, not gently, but completely. You will begin to feel it. The air will feel lighter. The tension in your chest will begin to ease. You'll wake up with clarity. You'll walk into spaces that used to trigger you and feel peace instead of panic. This is not coincidence. This is heavenly cleansing in motion. The spiritual atmosphere around you is shifting because Michael is actively dismantling dark patterns that tried to make a home in your soul. You are being made clean not just emotionally but spiritually, because your next season cannot carry old contamination. This purification is proof that heaven is not interested in surface-level healing. God is not merely fixing what was broken. He is reclaiming what is His, and you are His. Every curse, every lie, every lingering shame or guilt, every hidden sin you've repented for, but still felt haunted by Michael, is silencing those accusations now. The blood of Jesus has declared you clean, and now Heaven's warrior has been sent to enforce that verdict. You are not just being shielded from attack, you are being sanctified for destiny. So allow the process. Don't resist the shaking. Let Michael cut away the things that were never meant to follow you into the future. This isn't about punishment, it's about preparation. You are being cleansed because you are being called higher. And heaven will not let you ascend while dragging old chains. This is holy ground. This is holy fire. And Michael has come, not just to protect your life, but to purify your soul. You've wondered why your life feels more difficult than others. Why the warfare seems more intense. Why you walk into a room and feel tension rise for no reason. Why you've been misunderstood, misjudged, and attacked often without explanation. It's because you carry something dangerous to darkness. You carry the fire of God. And fire always draws conflict. The pressure you felt wasn't punishment. It was a reaction to your flame. The enemy doesn't attack the lukewarm. He goes after the ones who burn. There is a fire inside you that hell has tried to extinguish from the beginning. Life tried to smother it. People tried to shame it. Trauma tried to drown it. Exhaustion tried to bury it. But that fire, though dimmed, never went out. And now heaven is breathing on it again. Archangel Michael has not only been dispatched to fight for your breakthrough, he has been sent to guard your fire. Because in this generation God is raising up those who burn with truth, purity, and divine power, and you are one of them. You weren't created to blend in. You were never meant to conform. The pain of your isolation, the ache of being different, it was never rejection from heaven. It was protection of your flame. You are a fire starter, a carrier of sacred heat, and that kind of soul cannot be left unguarded. That is why the enemy sent confusion, depression, chronic exhaustion, sudden despair, not just to slow you down, but to shut you down. But it failed. It underestimated the spark inside you, Now God has said enough, and Michael has come with heavenly orders to fan the embers back into flame. You are not being rescued from weakness. You are being reignited for purpose. The same angel who stands watch over the throne is now standing watch over the fire in your belly. He is protecting your passion, your purity, your prophetic voice, your discernment. That is why you are beginning to feel the stirring again. That is why joy is starting to flicker in places you thought were numb. That is why ideas are returning, dreams are being reborn, boldness is reawakening because heaven is fanning the fire again. You're not just meant to survive the darkness, you were born to set it on fire. The battles you faced have not disqualified you. They have proven who you are. You didn't lose your flame, you survived the furnace. And now the fire inside you is not just warmth, it's weaponry. It carries light, truth, deliverance, the kind of flame that breaks chains when you speak, the kind of heat that shifts rooms when you walk in. And that is why Michael stands with you now, not to pity your pain, but to protect your anointing. You are not ordinary. You are ignited. You are not broken. You are burning. And the time for shrinking is over. Your fire is rising, and heaven is guarding it with force. Because you are not just called to carry light, you are called to become the flame. You've questioned your silence. You've wondered why, while others are seen celebrated and promoted, your voice has remained hidden. Your gifts, though real, have felt unseen. Your presence, though weighty, has often gone unacknowledged. And yet, you stayed faithful. You didn't strive for the spotlight. You didn't manipulate for attention. You stayed low, stayed humble, stayed yielded, even when it hurt. What you didn't realize is that heaven has been orchestrating something far greater than visibility. Heaven has been orchestrating elevation, but not the kind of elevation that comes with applause, not the kind that needs validation from men. This is silent elevation, the kind that happens beneath the surface in the wilderness, in hidden rooms of surrender, the kind that the world doesn't see until the fruit starts showing. And just because people weren't clapping doesn't mean God wasn't moving. He has been building you like a pillar, strong, immovable, unshakable. He stripped the noise so he could deepen your roots. He withheld the spotlight so your spirit could carry his weight. And now heaven is making it clear your silence wasn't neglect. It was sacred. It was strategic. And Michael, God's warring angel, has been assigned to guard that sacred process. He's been defending your growth from unnecessary battles, shielding your development from premature exposure, and protecting your elevation from demonic sabotage. Because what God is raising in you is not shallow, it's not trendy, it's not temporary. It is spiritual architecture, and it requires heaven's security. That's why the distractions faded. That's why certain people fell away. That's why God let some doors stay closed, not to punish you, but to protect what he was building. You didn't miss your moment. You've been becoming in silence. And soon, very soon, the fruit will speak. The fire in you will no longer be hidden. The strength you gained in secret will begin to shine in public. But you won't need to announce yourself. Heaven will do the announcing. The same people who overlooked you will look again. This time not with pity, but with awe. Not because you forced your way forward, but because you let God elevate you in his way, on his schedule for his purpose. And when that moment comes, it will be undeniable. The tables are already turning. The shift is already in motion. But you won't need to post about it, explain it, or compete for it. Because what God does in secret, he defends in the open. And Michael is guarding the foundation. You are rising not just in status, but in spirit. Not just in influence, but in anointing. Your roots have gone deep enough. And now heaven says, let it rise. You've felt it for a long time now. A weight that's hard to name. It presses on your shoulders. It lingers in your chest. It drains you even in seasons of rest. But it's not just emotional exhaustion or mental fatigue. It's not simply the pressure of life or the pace of survival. What you've been carrying is far more than responsibility. It is a mantle, a divine assignment, wrapped in invisible gravity. A holy burden that doesn't crush, it consecrates. And God wants you to know you've been chosen to carry glory. The weight you feel is not a curse. It's a sign of your heavenly rank. It's the echo of purpose vibrating inside your spirit, calling you to realms most people will never understand. That's why you feel what others don't. That's why your dreams are heavier, your discernment deeper, your warfare more intense. You carry something that can shift atmospheres, break generational patterns and rewrite bloodlines. You're not just gifted, you're marked. And heaven does not place this kind of mantle on the casual or the comfortable. It rests on the trusted. You've often prayed, God, this is too much. You've wept asking, why me? And yet you keep waking up with fire in your bones, with conviction in your belly, with compassion in your spirit. That is the evidence you were built for this. The mantle isn't here to punish, it's here to reveal, to expose the depth of what God placed inside you before the foundations of the world. You are not weak. You are carrying legacy. You are bearing the weight of a prophetic lineage, and the heavens have taken notice. And now, in this sacred hour, God has assigned Archangel Michael not to relieve you of the mantle, but to help you carry it with strength. Michael is not standing beside you out of pity. He is standing there because your back has proven strong enough, because your obedience, even in trembling, has qualified you for elevation under pressure. The greater the glory, the greater the resistance, but also the greater the reinforcement. Heaven has not left you to bear this mantle alone. You are being surrounded by angelic strength, equipped with supernatural endurance for what comes next. This is not the time to drop the mantle. This is not the time to wish for someone else's assignment. What you carry is rare. It is sacred. It is needed. And the one who placed it on you is also the one who is now surrounding you with divine assistance. The mantle is heavy, but so is the favor. So is the grace. So is the promise. And Michael is standing watch to ensure that what you carry is not wasted, not trampled, not stolen. Lift your head, chosen one. You are not being crushed, you are being crowned. You are not being broken, you are being built. This is not the end of your strength. This is the beginning of your stewardship. The mantle is real, and so is the angel assigned to guard it. You've asked yourself why the doors wouldn't open, why you were turned away from places where you knew you belonged, why you were overlooked in rooms where your heart was ready, your hands were clean, and your gifts were undeniable. The rejection wasn't random. The resistance wasn't accidental. It was spiritual, and it was targeted. Because the anointing you carry makes people uncomfortable before it blesses them. The oil on your life speaks louder than any resume, louder than any title, louder than any room trying to silence you. And heaven wants you to know you weren't denied, you were preserved. You weren't rejected because you lacked value. You were rejected because God wouldn't allow your destiny to be corrupted. You would have been accepted in the wrong season by the wrong people for the wrong reasons. And that would have poisoned the purity of what heaven was forming in you. That delay, that dismissal, it wasn't a failure. It was a reroute. God was guarding your oil. He was preserving your authenticity. He was hiding you from systems that would have tried to control what was never theirs to use. You weren't denied, you were protected. And now the same God who blocked the wrong doors is opening the right ones. And not only is he opening them, Michael is going ahead of you. He's walking into boardrooms, ministry circles, nations, partnerships, assignments, preparing hearts, softening resistance, shifting conversations before your name is even mentioned. You won't have to fight to be seen. You won't have to beg to be heard. You won't have to convince anyone of your worth. Heaven's oil will do the talking. The same people who said no will watch heaven say yes. But this time you won't walk in the same way. You're not entering with wounds, you're entering with weight. The anointing has matured. The fire has refined. The rejection has clarified your assignment. And now that you've been tested in obscurity, heaven is trusting you with visibility. But you won't walk with pride, you'll walk with power. And Michael will stand at the threshold not just as your guard, but as heaven's confirmation that this time it's divine timing. You no longer have to knock on locked doors. This time, you'll be invited, and you'll walk in knowing that your presence isn't tolerated, it's anticipated, because what you carry is not for your ego, it's for the kingdom. What was once your no is about to become your yes, not because you forced your way in, but because heaven has made room. You've repented, you've cried, you've changed, you've done the inner work, faced the darkness within, and allowed God to break patterns you once thought were permanent. And yet, guilt has lingered like a shadow. It whispers to you at night. It resurfaces when you're about to step into something new. It shows up when you're finally starting to feel worthy again. It tells you you're still stained, you're still disqualified. God forgives, but he hasn't forgotten. But hear this now, with the full weight of heaven behind it. Those voices are not from God. They are from the accuser, and his accusations have just been overruled by the courts of heaven. Heaven has declared you clean. The blood of Jesus didn't partially wash you. It didn't cover you halfway. It didn't make you tolerable. It made you righteous. You are not a half-healed version of your former self. You are a new creation. What the enemy calls your past, God calls. Nailed to the cross. The shame that once gripped your soul has no legal right to speak anymore. And to enforce that holy decree, God has assigned Michael, not just to fight external battles, but to fight the inner torment that still tries to haunt you. Michael is not only defending your calling, he's cutting away the guilt that wrapped around your identity. He's wielding his sword in the unseen realm, slicing through the lies, the accusations, the self-condemnation that the enemy tried to embed in your mind. The heaviness you've carried wasn't just emotional, it was spiritual bondage, pretending to be your personality. But now that bondage is breaking. That voice of guilt is being silenced. That inner narrative that always questioned your worth, heaven is rewriting it. You are not the worst thing you've done. You are not the weakest version of yourself. You are not your past failures, your past addictions, your past relationships, your past silence. You are who God says. You are chosen, redeemed, refined. You are not being tolerated. You are being entrusted. And heaven doesn't entrust warriors it hasn't purified. You've been through the fire, and now the residue is being removed. Shame has no seat at your future table. So walk forward not with fear but with freedom, not with hesitation, but with holy confidence, because Michael isn't just defending your external path, he's guarding your inner identity. You are no longer defined by what happened to you or what you did in your wilderness season. You are now defined by what God declared over you in the secret place, and what he declared is final. Heaven calls you clean. Heaven calls you chosen. Now, it's your turn to believe it. You've looked at your reflection and questioned your worth. You've reviewed your past, your flaws, your insecurities, and quietly whispered to God, "Are you sure you meant me?" There have been moments you felt too broken, too unstable, too inconsistent, too unqualified. You've watched others rise while you stayed hidden, convincing yourself that maybe you missed it, maybe you messed it up, maybe you're not enough. But let this truth break every lie that's ever wrapped itself around your soul. God does not call the qualified, he qualifies the called. And you have already been called. Heaven's decision over your life wasn't made after your mistakes. It was made before your birth. The calling didn't start when you felt strong. It started when God first breathed life into you. He saw the battles, the backsliding, the trauma, the hesitation, and he still said, "That one is mine." You were chosen with full knowledge of your weakness. You were set apart with full awareness of your scars. This isn't about your perfection. It's about your position in God's eternal plan. And now Archangel Michael has been sent not just to defend your external territory, but to silence the internal hesitation that's kept you stuck. He's not here because you've done everything right. He's here because heaven knows now is the time for you to rise, even if you don't feel ready. Michael stands not just as a warrior, but as a witness to heaven's decree. You've been summoned into activation. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are not too flawed. You are exactly where heaven needs you to be. This next chapter is not about feeling fully prepared. It's about trusting the one who called you. God's plan never required your perfection. It required your surrender. And even in your weakness, He's been weaving glory through your story. The enemy tried to convince you that your delay was disqualification, but God says the delay was development. What felt like detours were actually altars shaping your heart, refining your vision, preparing you to walk in power with purity. So yes, you may still feel afraid. You may still feel too broken. But obedience is not the absence of fear. It is the refusal to be ruled by it. And now, the Spirit of God is speaking through this very moment, saying, go, move, obey. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to be flawless. You simply need to say yes, because heaven is not waiting on your readiness. Heaven is moving according to your response. Michael stands behind you. The wind of God is at your back. The time is now. The calling is active. And the only thing left is for you to believe it. You've been knocking for years on doors of healing, doors of breakthrough, doors of belonging, doors of destiny. You fasted and prayed, waited and wondered. God, when will it open? When will the shift happen? When will the delay lift? And now, with heaven watching and earth trembling, the answer has come. The door is open. The waiting season has ended. The alignment has arrived. And the threshold you've only seen in dreams is now standing before you in divine reality. But this door is not something you walk through alone. Michael has been assigned to walk you through it. This isn't just about access, it's about escort. Heaven is not throwing you into your next without covering. Michael is not simply guarding the door. He is clearing the path, shielding you from unseen traps and carrying the weight of the warfare that would try to block your crossing. You will not enter your next chapter the same way you exited the last. This time you're stepping through with angelic partnership, prophetic timing, and divine momentum. You don't have to force what God has already opened. You don't need to manipulate, plead, or prove. The door is open because you're ready, and because heaven has ordained it. But be warned, open doors require quick obedience. Heaven's windows are often brief, sacred moments and delayed. Obedience is still disobedience. Do not hesitate. Do not second guess. Do not let past disappointments paralyze your present movement. What's before you is not just a new opportunity, it's a divine appointment. The door did not open by accident. It opened because you survived. The fire endured. The testing passed the silence and stayed faithful when it would have been easier to quit. And now heaven says, come in. And Michael is already in motion. He's guiding the timing, illuminating the path, and pushing back the resistance that tried to delay your arrival. Some doors aren't just about what you're stepping into, they're about what you're finally stepping out of. Out of fear, out of guilt, out of cycles, out of delay, out of shame. This is a door of separation and elevation. You're not just entering a new season, you're being transitioned into your true identity. The real you, the healed you, the anointed you, the appointed you. So walk forward, not timidly but boldly, not questioning your place but owning it in the Spirit. Michael is not here to beg you into your destiny. He's here to protect it as you move. The devourer has been rebuked. The blockage has been broken. The atmosphere has been shifted. Now it's on you to say yes with your feet. Your new room awaits, and your angel is already holding the door. There's a version of you that God has always seen clear-eyed, confident-wise in discernment, bold in direction. But somewhere along the way, the fog rolled in. Pain clouded your perspective. Disappointment blurred your identity. Fear bent your focus inward. And slowly your vision, once sharp, once prophetic, once lit by fire, began to dim. You began making decisions through the lens of survival, instead of strategy, through fear, instead of faith. But now heaven is intervening. Your vision is about to be restored. And the one helping remove the veil is none other than Archangel Michael himself. Michael is not only heaven's war captain, he's a revealer. In Scripture, he was assigned to deliver divine understanding, to bring heavenly clarity into chaos. And now, That same angel has been released into your life, not only to protect you from attack, but to break the spell of confusion that has tried to limit your ability to see what's really yours. The fog wasn't a personality flaw. It was a spiritual oppression sent to disconnect you from divine direction, but no longer. Heaven is restoring not just your steps, but your sight. Get ready for a shift in how you see yourself, your relationships, your calling, your assignment. What once felt impossible will begin to feel clear. What once looked like a wall will now look like a gate. Where there was once only noise, you will hear instruction. You are about to receive divine downloads, flashes of strategy, wisdom, creative solutions, and alignment. You'll wake up with new blueprints. You'll walk into rooms and know exactly what to say, where to go, and who to connect with, not by logic, but by spirit. This isn't worldly confidence, it's heaven-sent clarity. The same voice that once sounded distant will now feel near. The same decisions that once took months of anxiety will come with peace and precision. Why? Because God is not only restoring your vision, He's assigning angels to walk it out with you. You won't just see the door, you'll know how to walk through it, when to knock and when to wait. Michael is not just cutting away opposition, he's illuminating your path. You're no longer guessing. You're no longer groping in the dark. The days of spiritual nearsightedness are ending. What used to intimidate you will now ignite you. Because clarity breeds courage and vision fuels obedience. This restoration is not only a gift, it's a sign that your next move is coming directly from the mind of God, and Michael is making sure nothing blinds you again. So, prepare to see again, not through old lenses, but through heaven's eyes. This is not a return to who you were. This is the beginning of who you're becoming. The fog is lifting, the confusion is breaking, and now you will walk by faith, and finally with sight. You've asked, why did it get worse right when I thought it would get better? You stood in faith and the pressure increased. You fasted and the attacks intensified. You obeyed and chaos followed. You prayed for peace and walked straight into war. But what you didn't realize in that moment was this: your breakthrough was so close it provoked a final assault. The enemy could feel the shift in the spirit before you could see it. The darkness sensed your deliverance and launched one last strike because it knew what you didn't. You were stepping into victory. Hell does not attack the finished, it attacks the rising. You weren't under fire because you were weak. You were under fire because you were about to rise in divine power. The pressure wasn't punishment, it was confirmation. The warfare you felt, the heaviness, the confusion, the resistance in the atmosphere, it wasn't random. It was a reaction, a spiritual backlash to the momentum that was building in your favor. Every time the enemy saw you get closer to alignment, closer to obedience, closer to healing, closer to release, he panicked. But what the enemy launched, in fear, God allowed with purpose, because the same storm that was meant to destroy you became the proving ground for your next level. And now that you've stood, now that you've endured, now that you've kept moving, even when nothing made sense, heaven is honoring your endurance with deliverance. And the same angel that warred against the dragon in heaven, Michael himself, is now leading you out of the storm. This is not the moment to shrink back. This is the moment to understand you're not coming out wounded, you're coming out with weapons. You've gained authority in battle. You've earned spiritual territory through tears. And Michael isn't just here to defend your process. He's here to bring you across the battlefield into rest, into reward, into your prophetic inheritance. You're not crawling into the next season, you are being escorted with angelic force. The storm is breaking, the chains are snapping, the walls that boxed you in are falling, and heaven has declared enough. The season of survival is over. Now comes establishment. The torment in your mind, the sabotage in your sleep, the internal resistance that made no sense, it's all being uprooted. Why? Because the greatest attacks come just before the greatest arrivals. and heaven is making sure that you don't just arrive. You arrive whole, healed, and held by the hand of God. So take a breath. Feel the shift. You've been tested, but now the tide has turned. You don't have to guess if this is your breakthrough. It is, and Michael, heaven's sword-bearer, is leading the charge. Your battle is ending in victory, and the warfare that tried to kill you just became the evidence that you were destined to rise. You've carried the weight of battles you didn't start. You've found yourself in war zones you never asked to enter. From an early age, you've felt the opposition subtle and loud, personal and spiritual, internal and external, and you've wondered, why me? Why does warfare follow you into rooms meant for peace? Why do relationships seem to fracture without cause? Why does heaviness hit you the moment you get close to something holy? Let heaven answer this now with clarity. You were targeted because you're chosen. The enemy does not waste ammunition on the average. He reserves his fiercest attacks for those who carry kingdom weight, for those whose lives threaten the gates of hell. Your very existence is dangerous to darkness. Not because of your perfection, but because of your potential. And the devil saw that potential long before you did. He recognized the fire, the discernment, the prophetic purity, the unwavering resilience, and he feared it. That's why he sent betrayal to shake your trust. That's why he stirred rejection to fracture your confidence. That's why he weaponized relationships, silence, addiction, insecurity, because if he couldn't kill your body, he'd try to kill your belief in who you are. But here's the holy news: it didn't work. You're still here, still burning, still believing. Maybe not with the same volume, but with more depth. The resistance didn't destroy your identity, it revealed it. Every time the enemy increased pressure, heaven increased protection. And now, as confirmation of your calling, God has sent Michael not as a last resort, but as a declaration: this one is mine. You didn't ask for this battle, but you were born for it. And the war you've walked through wasn't punishment, it was proof of your divine rank. You were attacked not because you were weak, but because you carry breakthrough for others. You were pursued by darkness because you are destined to carry light into places most people avoid. There is a mantle on your life that shifts regions, a fire in your voice that breaks chains, a purity in your prayers that shakes foundations. And hell knew that. So it came early and it came hard, but it failed. You are not barely making it. You are ascending. You are being elevated into spiritual territory that the enemy once claimed. And now that you are rising, God has ensured that you won't do it alone. Michael has been released not just to defend your path, but to enforce your authority. You're not being overlooked anymore, you're being backed. You're not being tested without protection. You're being validated with angelic force. The very fire that made you a target has now become your testimony. Let this be settled in your spirit. The attacks were confirmation, not condemnation. The enemy saw the anointing. Heaven saw the obedience. And now the reward is here. You're not just chosen in word, you're chosen in war. And heaven has answered with reinforcement. You didn't know it at the time, but every time you chose obedience in the dark, heaven took notice. Every time you stayed when you wanted to run, forgave when you wanted to retaliate, worshipped when you felt numb, you were calling in the cavalry. The world saw weakness. You felt invisible. But the unseen realm was watching with holy attention. Angels were being assigned. Divine movement was being activated. Not because you shouted loud prayers, but because you whispered, "Yes, Lord," when your heart was breaking. Obedience was the trigger. You see, obedience isn't just compliance. It's spiritual warfare. Every act of surrender, every quiet moment of faith, every refusal to compromise in the face of pressure, it all releases a sound in the heavens, and that sound cannot be ignored. It draws heaven's eyes. It commands heaven's armies. Your obedience became the signal, the summons, the heavenly flare that alerted the throne. This one is ready, this one is true, this one is trustworthy. And now God has answered not just with affirmation but with reinforcement. Michael didn't arrive because you were perfect. He arrived because you were faithful. Faithful in the wilderness. Faithful in the waiting. Faithful when no one validated you. While others performed for platforms, you stayed on your face. While others demanded elevation, you chose consecration. And now heaven is responding in full force. Michael has not come as a guest. He has come as a witness to your alignment. You didn't summon him with talent. You summoned him with trust. You didn't earn him with visibility. You attracted him with your hidden obedience. This is why the enemy couldn't destroy you. He tried to bury you in pressure, hoping your yes would turn into no. But even when you were trembling, you said, "Still I will follow." Even when your heart was breaking, you said, "Still I trust you." And every time you did, heaven recorded it. And now the reward has arrived, not in applause, not in promotion, but in divine partnership. You are no longer walking alone. Michael is here because you obeyed when it cost you everything. You must understand this. God does not waste warriors on disobedient vessels. He doesn't dispatch angels to empower rebellion. He sends help to the surrendered. You were tested. You were refined. You were humbled. And now that your posture has proven your readiness, God has released the highest reinforcements. The obedience that nearly broke you has now summoned glory around you. The private sacrifice has called forth public power. So don't downplay your journey. Don't minimize what it cost you to say yes. That yes was heard in heaven, and now heaven has sent fire. Michael has come because your obedience didn't just move God's heart. It moved God's hand. This is not a season to be casual. This is not a season to be cautious. This is not the hour for second-guessing and spiritual hesitation. The window is open right now. The divine winds are stirring. The ground beneath your feet is trembling. The angel is not coming. He's already here. The way has been cleared. The shift has been activated. And now heaven is looking not for your analysis, but for your movement. Delayed obedience is still disobedience. It may feel wise to wait. It may feel safe to pause. But in the spirit realm, windows are often narrow, sacred gates of timing that do not remain open forever. You've asked for confirmation. You've cried out for a sign. But this moment is not a test. It is the answer. This is what you prayed for. The resistance has been broken. The reinforcements have been released. But heaven cannot move beyond your response. Michael has been assigned for a limited time. He is standing beside you now, sword drawn, waiting not for your perfection, but for your participation. He is ready to fight, to clear, to carry, but he cannot override your will. God will not force destiny on a reluctant heart. The Spirit is stirring you not just with inspiration, but with urgency. Your obedience must match heaven's momentum. This is not the time to shrink, to stall, to ask for another confirmation. This is the green light, and if you wait too long, you risk missing what was divinely prepared just for now. Don't let fear sound wise. Don't let trauma keep you frozen. Don't let past disappointments rob you of present fire. This is not yesterday. This is not that old cycle. This is a divine appointment, and the timing is sacred. If you move now, angels move with you. If you say yes now, heaven's weight backs you. But if you delay, if you hesitate, if you retreat, the cloud may lift, and what was meant to carry you forward could pass you by. Not because God changed his mind, but because you never made yours up. So act, move, say yes, sign the contract, write the page, take the meeting, apply again, open your mouth, start the thing, obey the whisper. The window is now, and Michael is already running. Heaven is not late. The breakthrough is not far, but what remains depends on your next step. You've been through the fire, and you're still standing. You've been misunderstood, misused, and misjudged, and yet your heart remains open, your faith still alive. You've lost things that will never return. You've mourned silently, rebuilt privately, and healed in the shadows. And now, Heaven wants to declare this over your life with finality and fire. You are not empty. You are sent. You're not limping into your future. You're marching forward under divine assignment. You're not barely making it. You are fully backed by heaven. Every wound has been repurposed. Every scar now speaks of survival. What was meant to bury you has only deepened your roots. And now God is sending you not as a victim, but as a vessel, not as a cautionary tale, but as a living testimony. You are a carrier of glory, a breaker of cycles, a restorer of paths, a voice to the weary. You are not who you used to be. You are not bound by what you went through. You are the fulfillment of promises whispered long ago. And you're not walking alone. Michael is walking with you. The warrior of heaven is not behind you, he's beside you, guiding, shielding, clearing, defending. You are stepping into spaces that your ancestors prayed for. You are standing in rooms that hell tried to keep you out of. You are carrying blueprints from heaven that darkness cannot decode. You are walking with a mantle that cannot be stolen. The fire in you is protected. The path before you is cleared. The oil on you is fresh. So walk like one who is sent. Speak like one who is authorized. Move like one who is anointed. The world doesn't need another copy. It needs your obedience. You don't have to figure it all out. You just have to keep moving forward with God. What you carry is not light, but it is holy. What you've survived is not small, but it is sacred. You are not empty. You are equipped. You are not forgotten. You are commissioned. The season of wandering is over. The season of wondering is done. The season of waiting has passed. Now is the time to be sent. Go with boldness. Go with clarity. Go with power. Go with fire. Go with angels at your side. Go with heaven's voice behind you. Go with purpose in your hands. Go with Michael on assignment. Go not as someone who barely survived, but as someone heaven chose to release. This is not your end. This is your emergence. You are not broken. You are built. You are not lost. You are launched. You are not empty. You are sent.